Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Ask a Property Manager. I'm Eric Worrell with rentprep.com and joined always by my co-host Andrew Schultz of Really the Edge. How you doing, Andrew?
Good. How are you this morning?
I'm doing pretty good, working through some projects, got an early start on the day, feeling good. How about yourself? Working on some accounting, I hear?
Doing some accounting, yeah. Got distracted, which is why we're getting a little bit of a late start here this morning, trying to get some stuff ready for a meeting this afternoon, but
yeah, you're boring when, somebody starts doing accounting work instead of working with you.
I guess that's what it boils down to at the end of the day.
Yeah, what are you going to do,
Yeah, right?
Well, for anybody who maybe hasn't watched this before, what we do is we cover different questions that are submitted in the Rent Prep for Landlords Facebook group. Andrew goes through every week, picks out some questions that he likes, and we kind of discuss them and bring them up on screen. So we've got 4 this week, and why don't we get to it? The first question comes from Lynn, who asks, is it better to charge a one-time non-refundable pet deposit or a monthly pet fee? So, Andrew, if you want to explain what the difference is between those two and then what you would do in her situation.
Yeah, she's got a couple of language issues here. So there's no such thing as a one-time non-refundable deposit. It's either a deposit, which is refundable, or it's a fee, which is not.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no such thing as a one-time refundable pet deposit. Most of our stuff is no pets. As a matter of fact, I think our entire portfolio of properties is no pets at this point. I think we might have a couple of legacy pets out there from stuff that we've inherited from other property managers, but we don't do pets. That being said, my recommendation is, and this is going to vary depending on your state law. Some states will have different rules in place as to what you can and cannot charge. I would charge a monthly pet rent, and I would charge some kind of a pet fee. Like a one-time non-refundable fee, or even taking like a pet deposit and making it half refundable, half non-refundable, something like that. Mm-hmm. But when you write out your pet agreement, it needs to specify this part's a fee, it's non-refundable. This part is a deposit, it is refundable as long as there's no damage. Sorry, let me mute my phone here. There we go.
His phone's on.
Oh, no, I'm a mess today. Wait until I'm not going to share the story with the watchers, the viewers today, but I'll tell you the story as to what's going on in my life after. It's quite the thing. Oh, dude, it's bad. It's very comical. I've been up since 4:00 in the morning. I feel like you today.
Yeah. Oh, I got up at 4:30, so you beat me today.
Yeah, but I bet you my situation's a lot grosser than yours.
All right. Well, I'm intrigued, but we'll have to get to that afterwards.
Yeah, that's definitely an off-the-air one.
All right.
So just when you write your pet agreement out, make sure you specify this is a fee, it's non-refundable. This is a deposit, it is refundable. This is a rent, it's considered rent just like your normal rent, and it has to be paid in the same fashion. So just specify what it is that you're charging and how you're charging it, and that should cover you pretty well. Check your state laws to see what you can and can't charge. Some states will not allow you to charge a pet deposit, or some states might not let you charge a pet fee, or whatever the case may be. And then we could spend an hour talking about, ESAs and stuff like that, but I don't really want to get into it this morning. So
I don't either.
Yeah, so we'll just skip that entirely. Okay. But I think we covered her question there.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's move to the next question. Probably cover up our faces a little bit here. This one's a little bit longer. This one comes from Sherelle. She said, looking for advice. She said that her tenant has not paid rent and will not take my calls. She gave her a 5-day notice before they're filing eviction, and they have not been able to do a walkthrough to even see the inside of the home. Mm-hmm. She always has an excuse, whether she's not here, her children have the chicken pox. Since I'm in the midst of trying to evict her, can I give her a notice that I will be going to do a walkthrough on the house every time I go by the doors? Or, okay, there should have been a period there. Every time I go by the doors and they're all locked and all the windows are shut with curtains drawn.
I would just do the eviction at this point. I wouldn't keep trying to gain access to the property. I don't know. She didn't say what state she's in, so I don't know what the rules are for evictions in her state. But at this point, she's already issued her 5-day notice. I would just, at the end of the 5-day notice, if the tenant hasn't paid rent, hasn't made contact, just follow through with the eviction. Wow. It's obvious that this tenant landlord relationship's gone very, very sour. You're probably not going to get into the place anyway until after this tenant is gone. Just be diligent on your eviction procedure. Get the tenant out as quick as you can and recover your asset.
All right. I think that makes good sense right there. And
Mhm.
I think that's helpful because it's like if you've never been through this situation before, and maybe she hasn't, you're thinking, I'm following the proper protocols. I'm trying to do the walkthrough. That's what you're supposed to be doing. But what you're saying is, you know what, this one's beyond repair. It's better off to just get through the eviction and then take care of things after that.
Yeah, that's kind of what it sounds like based on what she'd written there. It sounds like this is a landlord tenant relationship that's just completely degraded. I don't think there's going to be much in the way of saving it. If the tenant's not making contact, they obviously don't have any intent to pay the rent. I would just move forward with the eviction, get the unit back, get the asset back under your control and move forward from there.
Okay, cool. I like it. Let's move forward to our third question here. This one comes from Joe. So Joe asks, or actually says, "Hello, everyone. I'm looking for some advice. We are getting ready to list our rental property for sale, and I know the tenants are going to start asking questions. So we have a 6 unit in the building. How do you handle this?"
So we actually did this with a 5 unit up in Lockport that we manage. I think it was end of last year we sold that property. So what we did was we notified all of the tenants that the property was going on the market for sale. They're going to find out. There's no point in trying to hide it from them.
Mhm.
Let the tenants know that the property is going on the market for sale. At least in the state of New York, the rule is the lease survives the sale of the property. So if those tenants are on leases, they don't have anything to worry about when the new owner comes in. The new owner has to honor their lease for the remainder of the lease term using whatever the terms are that are spelled out in the lease. So as long as the tenants are on leases, the tenants are covered from their perspective. I would let the tenants know that you want them to keep their units neat and tidy. I would tell the tenants that you'll always give them at least 24 hours notice before you show the property.
Mhm.
I would try to give the tenants 48 hours just so they have some extra time to try to tidy their places up or whatever. It's just going to benefit you in the long run in terms of, a well-kept unit shows a lot better than a unit that's not clean.
Mhm.
Um, but just let the tenants know what their rights are, what you expect of them, and go from there. I mean, everybody's an adult in the situation. Rental assets are bought and sold every day of the week. It's unfortunate. It's going to cause some turmoil with the tenants, no doubt, when there's people coming in, looking at the units and things like that. But if you can kind of group your showings together to minimize the impact on tenants, it's got to be a good neighbor relationship going both ways. The tenants have to understand that this is what's going on. You have to understand that these tenants live in these units. This is their place of residence, and just act respectfully when showing it. Try to minimize the impact on the tenant wherever you can.
Okay, cool. I like
Yeah.
it.
I send a letter out is what I post a letter right to their doors letting them know what's going on.
Yeah.
And then that way there's not an excuse as to, oh, I don't know. I didn't know this was happening. Well, I posted it on your door. So
Yeah, and I think you made a good point too that they're going to find out. I mean, people are going to be coming driving by, or maybe even not, going up to the windows and stuff like that.
right. Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I mean, today's day and age, like probably even one of their neighbors can be like, "Oh, I see how you guys are selling."
Yeah,
So
exactly. All it takes is somebody to open the Zillow app. If it's in the MLS, it's going to be on the Zillow app within a day. So
yep,
they're going to find out one way or another. You might as well just let them know off the bat.
yep. All right. Well, let's move to our fourth and final question. This one comes from Stephanie, and she says, "What happens if a tenant pays for a radon test and it comes back over the EPA limit? Do I have to pay for a mitigation system?" And they're in Indiana. Thanks.
Okay. I'll start this one by saying I'm not an attorney, so take
Mhm.
whatever I say here. Actually, on all these questions, I guess take whatever I say with a grain of salt.
Sure.
We should probably start our episodes with that. I think we got away from doing that, and we probably should go back to it.
Mhm.
If a tenant does a radon test and it comes back over the EPA limit, does she have the obligation to pay for mitigation? I would think yes. You have a responsibility as a landlord to provide a habitable, safe environment for your tenants. If you have radon, which is potentially deadly, that's something that I would think would need to be mitigated. Um, I would think that the landlord would certainly be responsible for mitigating a radon situation as soon as they're made aware of it. So
Mhm.
that's certainly something to keep in mind.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Is it called warranty of habitability? Is that what it is?
I think so. Yeah, I think that's the legal term for it.
Yep. Yeah, and that's just basically saying that every tenant has the right to a warranty of habitability. So the landlord must provide a unit that falls under that. And things such as like if there's just they move in and there's just bed bugs everywhere, or
Right.
radon, or meth residue on the walls, or
Yeah.
gas, carbon monoxide. Those type of things are all going to fall under that warranty of habitability. So yeah, as the landlord, you're in the wrong if you're, not providing that basic living conditions that people have a right for. So
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and if nothing else, you're going to want to get that radon taken care of anyway, because if a tenant gets a report that says that there's radon, a concentration of radon in the basement or whatever the case may be, you're made aware of that report, like they hand you a copy of it. You're now responsible for disclosing that when you go to sell the property. So you're going to want to do something to remediate that issue anyway, just because you're going to have to disclose it. So if you can disclose it and say we've taken the steps to mitigate the problem, that should cover you.
Yep. All right. I believe that concludes this episode. You should know, in case you missed it, Jennifer said, "How dare you," for being
I
late
saw
today.
that.
To everyone else watching, I see Debbie and Margaret both liked the posts. And yeah, guys, thanks for watching. We always appreciate it. Any questions you guys have, always submit them to the Rent Prep for Landlords Facebook group, and they might end up on next week's episode. And yeah, Andrew, thanks again for taking the time to be with us, especially with an early morning.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
All right. All right. Take care, everyone.